Trump has caved again. He's finally agreed to the Democratic demand to pay TSA agents. He should have done it weeks ago. The hardworking TSA agents will now be paid so we can end the chaos at airports all across the country. And now we're on to continuing the fight to get ICE under control, because we believe that taxpayer dollars should not be used to brutalize or kill American citizens or violently target law-abiding immigrant families. Your taxpayer dollars should be used to make your life more affordable.
It's the last month to see a rare slave ship timber at the Smithsonian. It will be removed from the National Museum of African American History and Culture at the end of March and returned to its home museum in South Africa.
It carries within it the story of more than 500 captive Africans and the more than half of the enslaved people who tragically perished in the turbulent waters.
In its final weeks in Washington, it continues to leave a powerful impact on visitors.
The artifacts are extraordinarily powerful. I really loved the way those particular artifacts were displayed, the iron ballast bars, the remnants of the timbers just sort of suspended in darkness, almost like in a void. Imagine all the lives that those materials touched. It's kind of a haunting thing.
You feel the darkness in the room. You feel the claustrophobia, all of the people around you. It is not hard to imagine. There were people in my past that had to go through that so that I could be here today.
I almost felt like crying. It's very sad to see what happened.
It's not me, it's not my experience, but empathy is what I'm trying to say.
These are things that another human being did to another human being, and this makes it real. And it takes it from just the depths of history and brings it into your reality.
This is the last month to see a rare slave ship timber at the Smithsonian. It will be removed from the National Museum.
Peace and love. Good morning. Come on in. Happy Friday and welcome to Black Press USA's morning show, where we bring you the headlines and the culture. And you just got two. There's a victory that the Democrats won by holding the line. TSA is funded, and the fight to abolish and defund ICE agents continues. And then you saw a story that we have been tracking here for months. That Smithsonian African American Museum of Culture artifacts continue to be removed. And this story right here, the AP amplified. Last year, myself, along with Stacey Brown and our producer Greer, went to the Smithsonian because that's when the first talk started about pulling certain artifacts to rewrite what happened to Black folks in this country. So that was important for you to know. And so we're going to talk a little bit about what happened on Capitol Hill yesterday. But first, let's welcome in our Friday co-host, the host of the Jill Munroe Show on Tavis Smiley's KBLA Talk Radio here in LA, Miss Jill Munroe. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Happy Friday. How are you?
I am good. I'm feeling good. I'm loving what I woke up to last night. I saw Hakeem Jeffries' announcement that Donald Trump was going to do an executive order, but then I wake up to a headline from Black Press USA, which means that all of you guys make sure you follow on social media handles so you know what's happening from the Black perspective. The Senate then came through and unanimously moved to fund most of the Department of Homeland Security except for ICE and part of Custom and Border Protection in a rare overnight session. So Jill, I think this shows that people power really have the power. And this is right before, of course, tomorrow, the big No Kings rally happening all across the country.
So for me, was Tyler Perry going to have to do it? Is that the embarrassment that caused? I'm just glad that TSA workers are back receiving their checks. It's been a little over a month that they have been without receiving their paychecks. Can you imagine and the ones that are still showing up to do their job. I mean, if you think about 9/11, TSA workers are essential from that perspective, since we haven't been able to go to the gate freely since then in over 20 years. So just watching this administration is interesting, and the way that things are turning out. So
Right. And it's disheartening because it shouldn't have had to take a month for the working American everyday people to get paid. You know, we should not have gotten caught up in Donald Trump's circus that he's running. But unfortunately, because he is the American leader, we get caught up in all his BS. So I want to start though with the chat because it's important. Warren G says it's Happy Swag Hoodie Day. So on Fridays, Warren G rocks the HBCU hoodie, and today he says he's rocking Texas Southern. And that's pretty cool because my niece Kaden goes to Texas Southern. So shout out to Texas Southern. Yesterday we uplifted the women's athletic department, who is now making history over there. We also have Southbound in the building. He wants to talk about Tyrese and the verses, and we are going to talk about that today. He says JSU is in the building, the love. And then, of course, forensic accountant, they're stuck on you, Jill. They said, wait, Jill? I know I'm not seeing things. Jill is up at 5 a.m. Yes, she is.
Shout out to forensic accountant.
And then Michelle Madison is checking in. RNG says removing artifacts from a museum, but putting back Confederate statues in public only in the USA. And speaking of USA, born in the USA, Bruce Springsteen is going on tour. I read to kind of rally the people, to get them involved, to let them know that what's happening in our country is not okay, and don't get comfortable with it. Get angry about it. But I'm so excited for the TSA workers. I wish we had some sound effects because I would want the horns blowing and the hands are clapping, because those people are going to get paid. Some of those people were sleeping in their cars because they couldn't afford gas. So they slept at the airport so they could just do their job. Oh, okay.
Okay, Greer.
So congratulations to the okay. All right. See, we're getting somewhere. Now we got some sound effects. I'm excited for the TSA workers. I'm glad for travel, because a lot of people, a lot of Black folks who love to travel, who have their passports and are stamping them, that was a little anxiety. And it was like, who wants to wait in line for 5 hours just to get to a plane?
And listen, TSA being out of sorts robbed us of a genuine appearance last night at Versus, but we can talk about that when we get into that.
So, talk about that. Look at that. Now, the question remains, will ICE remain in the airports? Now, we know we've heard Steve Bannon talking about this is a test to see how they engage just with everyday people ahead of the midterms. So, and what is the question is, will they continue to train ICE agents? Because there were pictures going viral yesterday of TSA workers who were not being paid training ICE workers to do their jobs. Mm-hmm. So that still remains a question too that we have to track, because I don't want ICE in our airports. Do you? Chat, do you want ICE in your airports? Let us know. I know I don't.
Because
so hopefully they'll
be ID and all of these things that are a violation. ICE is not a police, entity. They just don't need to be there for all of the reasons that we can list.
Yes, I don't want them asking me about my social media because I know I won't get back in the country. Okay, I'll be left in customs. Okay, they go through my social media. And so those are anxieties that we feel in a country where freedom of speech is supposed to reign supreme. So we'll talk more about that as the developments unfold, and we'll get more into that on Monday. But today we want to feel good. It's Friday. We had a victory for TSA. The culture is culturing this week, from Jay-Z to, Salt and Pepper and In Vogue and TLC announcing a tour. The iHeart Awards were last night. The Versus was last night. The culture is popping. I love it. And we're going to get all into it. But first, let's start with our morning poll. I don't know if you've heard, folks, but Netflix is reportedly eyeing another price hike. Well, it started yesterday. The price hike is here. So they are pushing premiums to $27 a month. So the question in the poll is, at what point do you officially cut the cord? So if it's A, you're already done with Netflix because you're tired of them spiking the prices. Is it B, 25 is your limit? Or C, I'll pay whatever I need my show. So how do you guys feel about the Netflix price hike? Do you even have Netflix? Let us know in the chat. How about you, Jill?
So here's the thing for me. I need Netflix for work. So I got to keep it. But at this rate, we might as well have kept cable. It's also a tax write-off for me, technically. Right. I can do that. But it's ridiculous between all of the streaming services they keep adding on to bolster up those profits, because Netflix is now paying for live programming. And I mean, first of all, commercials during Netflix is crazy, but so is paying $27 a month. Do you know, like if you have Max, which is about to go away, HBO Max and BET Plus, they're all going to be rolled into Paramount with another fee hike, and just, it's kind of ridiculous at this point.
I mean, it is ridiculous. I just bought a Fire TV for my office. And so I'm learning that's a whole different, so I have a Roku TV in my bedroom. I have a Fire TV in my office. And then in the living room, I have a Samsung. And so it's like, I'm starting to, and I have a Spectrum, right? So I love Spectrum because they have an app. I don't have the boxes. And if you don't know, folks, Spectrum, get the app. Get rid of all those boxes. You're paying all those fees for those boxes, and you can have an app on your TV for Spectrum, just like you have for Netflix. It saves tons of money. But I'm trying to figure out now, do I want to just go the app way, or do I keep my Spectrum too, right? Because I pay for Hulu, but now I can pay for Hulu through Spectrum. And so it's like you have to figure out the matrix that works best for your household, and then it's the most affordable, right? And so it's just the streaming, like you said, we should have just kept cable. All this is unnecessary.
It's way too much. I remember my cable bill had gotten kind of outrageous before I cut cable a few years ago. It was like $400 a month. So I don't know. They're trying to squeeze every little penny and coin out of us that they can, and allegedly for our benefits, when we understand and know all of these streaming services can't survive. So they're going to continue to consolidate.
For sure. So just on the details of Netflix, they have increased its subscription prices, but these only take effect immediately for new Netflix customers. And if you already have Netflix, then we will see this price increase in the coming months. Now, if you're asking why the prices are rising, Netflix is increasing prices to fund investments in content, including live events, sports, and original programming, with plans to spend $20 billion on content this year alone. Now, like I said, the new pricing applies to new members immediately, with existing subscribers seeing the changes over the coming months. And so I guess they're like, well, you guys want new content. You know, you want sports, and the sports industry and fans are kind of pissed too, because now you have to go to too many places to watch the NFL. You have to go to too many places to watch the NBA. And, you know, you see with March Madness, it's everywhere. You have to search to find where you want to look at the games. And so, we're in a new world. It's not like it was in the 70s where we were talking about all sitting in front of the TV at one point in time. And so it brought the country together when you used to have to watch the Cosby Show on a Thursday at 8:00. Everybody was doing the same thing. Now you have all these different ways to watch, and it's becoming problematic. But look at this, YouTube. YouTube is kicking everybody's butt.
Yep. YouTube is the top streamer. People wouldn't think. And that's why Netflix doubled down on that content spend and went and got all of those podcasts and brought them over there because
iHeart.
Because they're trying to block out YouTube's surging dominance as far as competition, because YouTube has live sports as well. YouTube has television. The Oscars are coming to YouTube in a couple of years. So it's really a battle out there. And YouTube is free. There's a paid tier, but YouTube is still free. So
and it gives opportunities for Black media to exist, because that's pretty much where you're finding Black voices, Black content, and Black media outside of social media in long form. We're on YouTube. And so make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. As we continue to grow, we're loving all of the new voices and that we're hearing in the chat. And so we're going to continue to amplify Black voices and bring you the headlines that mainstream is not talking about. But we definitely need your support. So like and subscribe, tell a friend. Jill Munroe has a show Monday through Thursday on KBLA Talk Radio, and they're on YouTube, Black owned by Tavis Smiley. So support Black media because we love to make sure that you know what's happening in our culture and in our world, but we can't do that without your support. And Jill, I'll let you do your appeal now.
My appeal is very much the same as yours. I echo everything you said. Black media is important. Our voices, we see we are getting let go from mainstream in various ways. We talked about at the top of the hour how our history is being removed from spaces that were meant to teach and expand it. So the only way that you are going to stay connected with the real stories, what is going on and what is impacting us all from different perspectives, is to lock in with Black media, Black independent media especially, and through YouTube right here.
Here we are. Yeah. And I'm really heartbroken about what's happening to the museum. When I'm in DC, I usually go every time. And I didn't get a chance to go this time. But I mean, that room alone where the artifacts of slave ships are, it is very eerie. I mean, when you walk on the wood, it creaks. And they did an amazing job of taking you into that space as close as possible, and you feel it. You saw white people, Black people in that video. They feel it. And so it's just so odd that white men in this country want to erase. It's not odd. It is their ancestors. They are their ancestors' wildest dreams, just like we are. And for whatever reason, they don't want to take accountability for what their ancestors did. And what they're doing is doubling down, saying that we haven't forgot, and we're going to try to bring back whatever the mayhem and the despicable actions that you did. I'm talking about white folks. They're saying we want to continue that. And so we have to pay attention. So I think the victory, hopefully Democrats see on Capitol Hill, that if they hold the line, they're going to get some results.
Yeah.
Going to get some results. So we have a lot to talk about this morning. And I first wanted to talk about this story that's beginning to trend. And it's a conversation worth having. John Bryant is trending for a conversation he had about luxury brands. Take a look at this.
76% of all luxury goods are bought by poor people. 76. When I heard the data, I couldn't process it. I'm like, no, this can't be true. It's not just poor working middle class people are striving. My point is, it's not purchased by the wealthy. That's my point. When you go look at the Louis Vuitton store and look who's in line. During COVID, the lockdown, you saw the line. That was not wealthy people. It was us.
That's right.
Right? We're aspiring. You know, no difference why somebody wants a Coca-Cola or they want an iPhone, right? We got $2,000 iPhones and only have $2 in our bank account. A lot of social media is the psychologist that we never got, the shrink that we never got, the healing we never got. And consumerism, if we're not lucky, if we're not careful today, it's a new colonizer because they got your attention. They got you got your algorithms. They've got your focus. And if you're not careful, they also got your money. And most things in balance are good things. Alcohol in balance will lower your blood pressure. Drugs in balance are prescribed. Sleep in balance is a great thing. Too much, and that's depression. You know, too much sleep is just not a good. Too much of anything is not a good thing. So we got these INGs that have taken over our lives because we're depressed. In my opinion, I think that most African Americans, I don't have a stat for this, I just believe it, are clinically undiagnosed depressed, and we don't want to deal with it. We got a bunch of INGs: scrolling, shopping, drinking, drugging, sleeping, traveling, not dealing, not healing. Abusing, yeah. And it's all a distraction. But what better mechanism for somebody who's depressed than something with immediate gratification? Social media is immediate gratification. 76.
So somebody in the chat is asking about the source. It's the Bain Luxury Goods Worldwide Market Study. That is the source for this data that other people were talking about as well. But I thought that John Bryant was a good source because he speaks on economics and building Black wealth. So I thought he was a good reference point to start with. And that was him on Tamika Mallory and My Son's podcast. But luxury brands, 76% of luxury goods are brought by middle class to low income individuals. I mean, I think we see it on our social timeline all the time, right? So what does that say about, us wanting to feel like we have it when we don't?
I mean, I think that he touched on it a little bit when he talked about social media and its popularity as far as escapism. It, for some, is a little touch of, let me do something nice for myself. Let me bring a little luxury into what may otherwise be a very average existence for some. I would like to see the study. I do, not that I don't believe that it's a high proportion, because we see, there's visual evidence, but that number seems 75% seems really, really high of us primarily, because to me,
it doesn't necessarily cite Black folks. It's just the 75 or what is it? 76%, right? But we are a high percentage of that 76%, even though, putting in context, we're 12% of the population, right? And so that when you look at the statistics of that, the percentage goes high, right? But the 76, you see what I'm saying? The 76%, like, just like when they say, when white folks catch a cold, Black folks catch pneumonia, our numbers are always the highest when you look at unemployment. So I think in context of 76%, and then when you look at the percentage of Black people, we do poll high when it comes to luxury brands. You have to put it in context. And it's so funny because I saw Joy Reid talking about how mainstream media frames things, and it's not always in context. It's in broad strokes. And sometimes when you do things in broad strokes, you don't put it into its proper context. And I mean, we see it. I mean, I think he brought out a good point during COVID when you looked at the Louis Vuitton lines here in Rodale Drive, they're full of Black folks. You know what I'm saying? And when you think about it, wealthy people, even when they buy luxury brands, they don't have the logos all over their body. It's us.
I mean, we do buy the flashier pieces, but I like to push back just ever so slightly on the notion that wealthy people don't buy these brands. These brands wouldn't be in business if these wealthy people were not, contributing down. Our little buying of, and I'm not saying it doesn't hit the bottom line, we tend to buy the pieces that are on the lesser expensive side, I should say. So I like to push back just a little bit because wealthy people do spend money, but comparatively, it is the difference. I understand the bottom line. We need more assets. We need more grounding in our community to rally around. We need to treat our brands the same way that we treat these luxury brands. So I respect it and I understand it, but I'm also very careful about, as you mentioned, the language that we put around us and our habits and things like that, because I also feel like sometimes in the rush to help and to put us into a better situation, there's a lot of shaming, and I do think shame should come back, but not in a helpful way in some of these conversations, because it's easy to just say, don't buy Gucci, buy an asset. But the day-to-day lifestyle, sometimes people need a pick-me-up. Sometimes they need encouragement. Sometimes they don't have the information, which is why platforms like this are important to know how they can turn that $150, wallet purchase or, passport holder purchase from Gucci or Louis into purchasing a stock asset or something like that. They don't realize how easy it is. They don't understand compounding interest and things of that nature. So I feel like we got to be careful in how we set ourselves up in order to help.
Right. And I think I love a lot of the things that you said. And, I think, we should treat ourselves, but, like within like the Asian community and even the Latino community, their recycled dollar lasts longer than the Black recycled dollar. And I think that's getting to the core of the conversation, recycling Black dollars. When you buy something, do you consider buying, a Black fashion designer? Right? When we go get our nails done, I need to go today. It's making me think. I don't know of a Black nail technician, but do we recycle our Black dollars the way we should? Because if we're talking about luxury brands, there are a lot of Black designers now that participate in Fashion Week that's preparing to dress muses for the Met Gala, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I think that should come into the conversation too. Not just, luxury brands, but what luxury brands are we buying? Are we recycling our Black dollars? Are we being trained? Are we training our children to recycle Black dollars? Or are we training them to go for the Louis Vuittons, to go for the high end? I'm not a high end person, so they just don't roll off my tongue. But these are questions. Let's look at what the chat is saying. Forensics is saying John is smart enough not to throw a percentage out there without citing the source. I cited the source. And I know I saw a couple of other ones that piggybacked on John. They cited that same source. Chris says, go for high quality, lowest price Blacks. Stop giving companies free advertisement. There's a point there, but I don't know if you should be speaking on Black people if you're not Black, and you should watch your tone. Southbound says they fake the lifestyle till it's time to lose it all. Then nobody wants to help because you had it all. So Mike V says, yes, but our people are willing to buy counterfeit luxury brands to feel like they are part of a class they are not. Well, maybe, knockoffs aren't bad. Who knows? You know what I'm saying?
Here's the thing with knockoffs. Like you said, all races buy knockoffs. If you've ever been to Canal Street in New York, you've seen all races out there. But I think to that point, is it a look? Is it a status symbol? Your point about elevating Black brands is very important, because I feel that we are oftentimes harder on our Black brothers and sisters as a brand. We take them through their paces, critique them on everything from pricing and structure, but we don't have that same type of smoke or complaints for these more traditional high-end brands. We, don't try and negotiate them down or pick them apart or bring them down. And I think that that is a whole other conversation about our psychology when it comes to luxury brands and how we treat them and how we place them, and kind of box them in as well and don't allow them to grow because we look at them as Black and we put more pressure on them. There's nothing wrong with a little treat, but you have to make sure that your home is in order. You have to have some priorities, some things that, like you said, you can go back to, some things that are going to grow. It can't be your whole lifestyle. It can't be I'm Gucci, Louis, Prada, so I'm cooking,
Or it's like when when we buy a pair of red bottoms, when we sit down, we keep the bottom up in the air because we want everybody to know that we have on these red bottoms. And so, like you say, it's a psychological thing, like even when you go in the stores as Black people, the way that we're treated, if we're not a notable face and we go right down here to Beverly Hills and we walk into these high-end stores, we're going to be treated and we're looked upon a different way. I mean, it's just facts. It's this thing of, do you belong? And so it's a whole psychological thing that, we should really be talking about. But I think that the key thing is, how long does a Black dollar last within our community? Are we recycling Black dollars like other cultures and communities are? And we really need to pay attention to that and be conscious about being in our communities, supporting the local skincare line, supporting the local Black beauty supply place. These are all things that make our community better. And we should just be conscious about. I'm not saying that we just should only buy Black goods and services, but we should be more conscious about, spending Black dollars with Black businesses.
Indeed, I feel the same.
Nancy Wall says, who made the red bottom of your shoe significant? Louis Vuitton. That's who. Oh, and it was us. It was us.
It's not Louis Vuitton.
Who is it?
Christian Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
Louis Vuitton, not Louis Vuitton. Louis Vuitton.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, I don't know. Yeah. See, I don't even have.
They're just Parker and Sex in the City.
I don't own a pair of red bottoms. I just don't. Now, maybe if I felt like they were in my price range, maybe I would, but I'm not going to break my back to go buy a pair of red bottoms when I probably could buy 50 pairs of shoes for the price of one red bottom.
I mean, I think fashion is labeled, style is just your style. So you don't need fashion to be a stylish individual. I think sometimes people forget that. But to our conversation before this, people use labels sometimes and status as self-esteem builders. So
it's so funny. Mike V says, Neil, I know you be at the swap meet. No, not really, but I do like Nordstrom's rack. But if I do need to go to the swap, I haven't been to swap meet in years though. But the Slauson swap meet is right down the street from me. And if I need to go get me an airbrushed t-shirt for whatever the reason, I know where to go though. You know what I'm saying? And I think that, you go to Slauson. And so I think those are a part of our culture too. The swap meet is a part of our culture too. So all these conversations, but you have to pay attention to the swap meet too, because we're not in the swap meets here in LA.
Facts. Like even I saw something a few months ago about Black vendors discussing the Slauson swap meet and how it was hard for some of them to get in there to get the booths. Then that's the reality of what is becoming in LA in a lot of cases, which is a conversation for another day. But
it's a conversation for another day. But like we're right by Leimert Park, which is Black vendors. We have the Baldwin Hills Mall, which they built like a. But you know that right now they they have a collective space in there where lots of Black vendors can go into this one space and they sell their shea butters, they sell their clothing, their sunglasses. And so, you know, when you know, and I know about these things, so I may go to the Baldwin Hills Mall and be intentional about, you know, going to get me some shea butter or going to get me a pair of sunglasses. Because I mean, this is what we have to do to support our community. Orangey is saying fashion has never paid my mortgage, and I pay my mortgage twice a month. How many times has Gucci paid anybody's mortgage? So I don't know. So that's a good conversation to have. And so, chat, as we move to the next story, we do want to leave you with this poll or question that you can drop your answers in the chat. It says, when you buy a big name designer, what are you really paying for? Is it the quality or is it the status? And I think for some of us or some people, it's both. It's quality and status.
For some, it's just the status. We can keep it 100, you know, like, do they know the difference? Do they know what those quality points are? And do they really care? Are they looking for it? You know, are they turning it over and looking at the stitching to see, do they understand the reasons why allegedly these items are a higher price, a higher cost? So, but I mean, you know, allow people to do their things, but just recognize that you are going to have to answer for your choices at some point.
Michelle Madison says the only swap meet that I have been to was in Fort Lauderdale. Okay, that's right. Everybody should have a swap meet experience in their life.
Yeah, I mean, growing up in LA, especially, you know, in the 90s or 2000s, you got to have a swap meet trip. You go get your gold from there, like you said, a shirt. Now they have restaurants or like special serving things in the swap meet. So I haven't been, but I hear.
Right. I mean, they go get their tennis shoes from there. They White Pro t-shirts. You know, I mean, it's a thing. It's a whole cultural experience. What's wrong, Gio? Are you looking at the chat?
Yeah. I'm like,
yeah. Sometimes, you know, it like I always say, I don't go to the Klan YouTube channel. I don't go to the Republican YouTube channel. I don't care about what they're doing. But white folks always seem to want to be in Black folks' pot. You know what I'm saying? They always want to be in our mix. I mean, I just it's astonishing to me. I don't go where I'm not wanted, or I don't go where the conversation doesn't meet, you know, my appetite. But they always curious. You know why? Because we are the culture movers and shakers.
We set the pace.
We set the pace. So come on in and get some of this Black excellence, this Black goodness, this melon popping. Come on in, you know, and we see you in the chat. We see you. All right, let's get to our next story. This one is for y'all in the chat. This one is especially for y'all that we were just talking about. And I'm talking about, like I said, the culture was popping this week. Drewski. First, you know, it was the Black church. You know, he went after the pastors. Now, this week, check this out.
Don't let anyone disenfranchise you because you're a young man, especially a young white male man. Don't ever let anyone talk down to you. We need strong men out there.
We have to protect all men in America, especially all white men in America. Those are the boys that we care about in this country. America is built on their backs.
Don't let anyone disenfranchise you.
Baby, Greer, if you go to Drewski's page and pull the whole thing, I didn't pull it because it had music in there and I didn't want us to get flagged, but we could show the B-roll. So Drewski decided this time, like I said, last time it was a Black pastor. This time he wanted to for everybody to know what it looks like when white women speak up for the cause. And so that was, I guess, Erica Kirk, you know, the likeness or whatever, a pure comedy. But she didn't take too kind to it. White folks are pissed. And Erica Kirk took to Twitter or X or whatever it is, and she said, and she tweeted, "But if I did blackface as part of a skit, I'd be canceled and called a racist." Drewski is loving it. He thinks it's funny. This is what you call the First Amendment, right? It's what you call comedy. Jill, what did you think of Drewski's skit?
I was crying. I saw this. I was like, what? The accuracy, the thing that Drewski always gets right. And this is the second time he's done this type of makeup style with his comedy. He also did the NASCAR redneck thing that got people going a little bit too, is the details. He finds the small details, the moments that we all recognize, and that's why we all have the laugh. It was so on point. I think within 12 hours of it being put up, it had already had like 36 million views, 300,000 likes, something like that. It's just, you know, the organic pup cup.
Right.
Perfect. He is our version of In Living Color. We really couldn't have a show like In Living Color in this current time frame. Drewski couldn't do what he does if he was probably under, you know, a network or something like that. But because he's totally independent and funds himself, he can get it in. And like I said, the details, the points, he matched Erica Kirk's entrance with the fireworks and her walking out. I think it was to Nicki Minaj that particular time, as well as her cadence and mannerisms. This is what happens. This was literally said, like, young white boys need to be protected on stage. So it's comedy and
it's a mirror, you know, even with the black pastors, you know, Drewski puts a mirror up to the foolishness. You know, like, this is what you look like. Okay. And so I don't know what the problem, this is what you look like. So he did it with the black pastors. He's doing it now with white women. I mean, this is what y'all look like. Okay.
I mean, and he does it with us too. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
Dating scenarios or different things. It's the small details that put it over, because we're all like, I recognize that. I know that person. I've seen this before. And it is one of those small moments where we can all come together and laugh. I'm telling you, I know that there's some white conservatives that are probably laughing at it because they know it's true too.
And it's comedy, okay? Like, come on. It is the art of comedy, okay? And if you know comedians, this is what they do. This is what they do. It is hilarious. And so it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. They're talking about lawsuits. Drewski, when I looked last night, it was at 5 million likes on Instagram. And so, I mean, it comes with the territory. He's okay with the heat. And so I can't wait for the next skit. I can't wait for the next one. He's hilarious. This is his moment. Shine, Drewski, shine. All right, here's another story that's trending, and it's all about knowing your worth and speaking up for your value. So following Michael B. Jordan's Best Actor win at the 2026 Oscars for his role in Sinners, and we loved it, he deserved it, Michael B. Jordan is reportedly knowing his worth during negotiations for the upcoming Miami Vice reboot. Take a look at this.
Jordan was already attached to the Miami Vice remake, and then he wins the Oscar and then comes back to the producers of Miami Vice and says, I no longer want the $5 million that I initially agreed I would take for the film. I want $18 million. The producers have then gotten back to him and said, look, we had a verbal agreement. Nothing was signed, but we had a verbal agreement for $5 million. $18 million is too much of an increase. It's a hard one for me because I understand both sides. Yes, Michael B. Jordan, you deserve that level of money. But if you already agreed for this film before you won the Oscar, then you get that money for the next film you agreed to do. not for this one.
Know your worth. And I think at the same time, like, yeah, he probably verbally agreed to the $5 million, but yeah, things have changed. Like, he's an Oscar winner. He's the only Oscar winner in that cast. His thing is like, we'll just say a number, and if they say yes, and we get that. Because that's negotiating. Like, I don't think he'll get the 18 million. He might get something like 13 or 12, which I think more reasonable than 18. But again, like, if this movie, you know, goes on to make $1 billion and he's like, oh, I only got paid like 4, like, he was like, what the hell? Like, you got to get your worth.
Michael B. Jordan was already attached to the Miami Vice.
So you see, I mean, I totally agree. Everything is negotiable, right? Everything is negotiable. And since they said that they intentionally held back from signing the agreement until after the Oscars to see how things would go, I think that's a smart business move. What's your take, Jill?
So not only is it a smart business move, let's be real. Miami Vice originally premiered in the 80s. We had the first remake with Colin Farrell and Jamie Foxx, which was a flop. Do we need a Miami Vice in 2026? I'll answer, we don't. But if you have Michael B. Jordan in the cast, it's just going to be that much more better, and people are going to show up for that. I like Austin Butler. I enjoyed him in Elvis. But let's be clear, as mentioned, there will be only one Academy Award winner in that cast, and that is part of the boost of winning the Academy Awards, not always for Black women, but certainly for whatever individual won it. And being that that is one of the biggest awards that were given away that night, he absolutely should get his value. They wouldn't question if a white actor was doing it, so they should not do it with this actor, because once again, who is really asking for another Miami Vice remake in 2026? No one.
That is hilarious, because that is a huge point. But I mean, I think that it's important for people to understand that negotiations is, you know, you set your price, you know, you probably won't get it, but you know, you want something more than what you initially discussed. And so I don't think that there is anything wrong with him wanting to be paid for his value. I don't think that there's anything wrong to negotiate what you bring to the table, because sometimes the other person doesn't see your value until you make them, or you put it in front of them to acknowledge. And so I think that he, like the latter gentleman said, he probably won't get 18 million, but he probably will get around 12 to 13. And that's more than 5. Okay. And so that's what this is about. This is a business, right? Who's, like you said, who's asking for Miami Vice?
Nobody. And Michael B. Jordan is going to open the movie. Let's say he were to walk away. Now, there are several people that you could put in that role, but that are attractive action stars and can bring in a box office audience. You kind of got to give him that. Right. If you want this movie to succeed and be more than just kind of, you know, another remake that we're tossing out there. At least that's my thoughts.
Right.
Yesterday's price is not today's price.
That's right, Fat Joe.
Okay, it's not. And sometimes negotiations get uncomfortable, they get sticky, and you don't want to offend people. But why should you compromise and receive less than what you deserve? I mean, that when I saw that, you know, there are things that I'm going through right now, and I was empowered to stand my ground. Like, you know, yesterday's price, what you talked about 2 years ago, or what you talked about back then, yesterday's price is not today's price. And when you know your value and you know what you bring to the table, you need to stand on business. And hopefully you'll get past it, and then you get back to your kumbaya moments. Okay. I'll meet you at craft service. What time is call time? 7 o'clock, or where we need to be, and we'll be all good. But right now we got to take care of this business. Okay. So there's more news. We were talking about Netflix earlier. So, you know, A Different World is in production in Atlanta. And, you know, I saw Derek J. He's doing hair and styling over there. But they've added some more of the old school to the new school. Don Lewis and Glenn Truman are now officially returning to the Netflix A Different World reboot. Now, Jaleesa Remember Jaleesa and Colonel Bradford? They are returning. And who are you most excited to see? I was about to say Greer. Greer, you could chime in on this too. And Jill, I know Jada Pickett Smith, she posted that she's returning as well. We know that Jasmine Guy, Kadeem Hardison are returning. But the show is based upon those two characters, Whitley and Dwayne's daughter. So that it's based upon their, their extension. But all of the old cast members are coming back. How do you feel about that, Jill? And
So,
Jack?
I'm interested to see it. Felicia Pride is going to be the showrunner. She has written on several shows. She had a movie that came out, I think it was called Really Love, with Kofi Seabrae, and it was a romantic comedy. Me personally, I'm looking forward to see Lena James. That's Jada Pinkett's character. I loved me some Lena James back in the day. Of course, I want to see Whitley and Dwayne. It's their youngest daughter that is going through there. So Freddie is coming back too, and Ron Bell, who was his character's name Ron too?
I think it was Ron.
Yeah. So, and the character, the actress that played Kim, she's coming back. So they have a lot of the old school characters coming back in the mix. Jennifer Lewis is reprising her role as a professor. So, I'm just
there we have
excited
it.
to see. That's Felicia down at the bottom next to Debbie Allen. I'm excited to see what the mix is going to be like. Sometimes these, reimaginations can be a little sketchy, but this one I feel like is for the culture, especially for the time. I think it's a necessary vibe because it will be a reminder of the HBCU experience and lifestyle for people, to keep that at top of mind so that, people will keep considering that to send their children to as far as education. So I'm hoping it'll be good fun. Debbie's back in the mix. She put the special sauce on the original to give it that HBCU life touch that was missing from season 1, obviously. So I think it'll be good. I would like to see some new IP, some other things, but I'm excited about the reboot.
I think it's smart for them to have this intergenerational approach to the show. Because, just basing it on just a total new audience is tricky. But when you bring back all of the old characters, it's going to bring back that Gen X audience, because we want to know, where Whitley and Dwayne are. Okay. More than we want to know about the daughter. We want to meet the daughter, but we want to meet the daughter through them. So I think bringing back these old characters is smart, because we're going to tune in, and then, you have this younger generation that you're hoping will chime in as well. You can go ahead, Greer.
I'm a little nervous. I'm going to say I'm as nervous as I was when She's Gotta Have It did their reboot, because when we try to do, these shows that were like, so personal to a lot of us at the time, and they try to, it just doesn't, I don't know, it doesn't land for me. You know what I mean? It absolutely doesn't land for me. In fact, my kids who are, of college age and adults, they like the old stuff better than they like, the new stuff. So I don't know. I think just, I'm glad to see that a lot of the original people who were involved were involved now. I just don't know that. I don't know. I can't say that I'm excited. I'll put it like that. You know what I mean? Because reboots never really work for me. They just don't.
Yeah, I totally get that. I'm hoping, like I said, that it will create a similar excitement for the younger generation, for HBCUs and that aspect of life, like it did for us. We know, and I shouldn't say this because this is not fair, but we know it's not going to live up to the original. It's just not. Maybe it will for the kids, but for us, it's just, seeing what happens. But I want to see as many of our Black actors and actresses and behind the scenes talent get work. So I got to support it from that aspect, because
that's a great point. That's a great point.
Yeah,
I mean,
I agree too.
Excited.
I agree with that as well, Jill.
I'm
got to support.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited about it because I've been watching since they put it back on Netflix, which I think was smart. It's definitely one of the top watch shows on Netflix. So I mean, I think that proves that there's an appetite for it. And I mean, I'm watching, I'm so glad that TV1 is here because I find myself watching like maybe in the early evenings TV1 a lot because they're running in Living Single, they're running the Cosby Show, they're running A Different World, and those are just shows that I love. And so I think that with Netflix having A Different World on there and people who didn't watch it are now becoming familiar with it. And then it depends on the rollout too. A lot of times it's the rollout, the promotional rollout that gets your appetite going, and the way that they keep sprinkling, every maybe 3 to 4 weeks, somebody is coming back, somebody's come back. They're really not talking about the new characters as much as they're talking about the returning characters. So it seems like they're trying to get that Gen X audience attention.
They're definitely trying to tap into the nostalgia and, string us along. But since you brought up watching A Different World on Netflix, what do you think about the AIization of some of the episodes? You can see some of the enhancements, like you can see things in the background where they're kind of blurred because they have added some AI to the scenes.
And I haven't noticed that. I haven't know. Now I'm going to pay attention. I didn't notice that.
And there's a whole Instagram account because you think about this, right? Like when we watch shows in syndication, obviously they cut some of the stuff out back in the day for the commercial breaks because they were longer. But on Netflix, well, until now, we didn't have commercial breaks. So they can, in theory, show the complete episode as aired. But they don't do that. They show us the syndicated versions. So a lot of times what we're seeing is not what we originally saw back in the day. There's pieces that are cut out, angles that are changed. Like I saw something that was using a Cosby Show episode where Theo and Justine, Malcolm Jamal Warner and Michelle, why did I just blank on Michelle's last name? That played Justine on the Cosby Show. They had a scene together and they cut out a whole middle portion of the scene. There was one Cosby Show episode where the grandparents were talking about the March on Washington and having been there. And there was a whole speech about it that was cut out on the Netflix version because it was the syndicated version. And when you look at that, we wouldn't know it because obviously in a lot of cases, we don't remember what the original airing is, but it goes to what we were talking about, even with the museum, about preserving our history. These little bits and pieces are being chopped off and we don't even know. And it allows kind of our history to be changed. So I think that is something, I know it's kind of off on a tangent, but we should pay attention to too.
No, I'm going to pay attention now because I watched it like
being altered too in real time. So
yeah, listen. Yeah, and especially, Jill, you bring that up in terms of preserving our history, because remember there was that situation with Malcolm Jamal Warner with on the Cosby Show, and he had something. I think he wore a shirt, or there was a picture or something in the bedroom about South Africa, and Bill Cosby went to bat to keep that in, and NBC didn't want that, and so now we're talking about Netflix being in control of this type of content. Right. That was such an integral part of our culture, being taken out by AI. I didn't even know that. So I'm gonna look out for that as well. I think that's something we all should be looking at.
Yeah. So just something to think about to go along with these reboots. Like, again, I'm always excited to see, actors from our childhood still working in this day and age, especially as we know what the industry does to Black actors and actresses. So from that perspective, I want to see what they got. But like Greer said, be shaky.
Well, Dr. Marilyn brings up a good point. They did the same thing with Bel Air, and it was good. Bel Air was really good. So that was a reboot that worked, and it was reimagined. which turned into a dramedy comedy versus The Fresh Prince was just a comedy. So that's a great point. And she says she's excited for the return. I am too, because I just want to see where they're going to take the story. And with Debbie Allen attached to it, I think we should all be cautiously optimistic about it. Okay, so like I said, this was a big week for the culture. And Jay-Z is part of the story of this week. 3 sold out shows at Yankee Stadium to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Reasonable Doubt and the 25th anniversary of The Blueprint. But the music is just half of the story, y'all. Jay sat down for a rare 4-hour GQ interview, his first in nearly a decade, and he didn't hold back. So let's take a look at a couple of the clips from this interview. Let's start with the first one, Greer. Hey.
Just doing things the right way, even when that comes to like attaining wealth and continuing to amass wealth. We're talking about B-sides. One of your illest lines to me is face to the ceiling, race to a billion, heaven on earth, will his wings still fit him? So like, what's the answer to that question? Is it a constant struggle to maintain?
Your morality defines who you are, right? It's not what you've attained. It's not a dollar amount that changes you.
Yeah.
And if so, what is that dollar amount? When does it start? Is it 100,000? Is it 150? Like at what point, if it's a cutoff, if it's like all millionaires are bad.
Yeah.
Okay. So at 999,000, I'm good. It can't be that way, right? It doesn't make any sense. The system is set up against me, against us. But I'm talking about my specific struggle.
Yeah.
Everything was against me. My talent, not taking advantage of people, not taking advantage of a system, not creating tax loopholes, not just taking from other people. No, my talent pushed against all the headwind. And with that success, I've done things with my reach that I wanted to do that was helpful for a lot of people.
Yeah.
And with the system that we have, what are you going to do? Because I don't believe in that the idea that someone has a certain amount of money, it defines their personality.
So when you have, looking back on the last year,
it was hard, really hard. I was like heartbroken.
Really?
Yeah. I'm glad we got right to that, so we could just get that out the way.
Okay.
Like I was really heartbroken by like everything that occurred, with all like, we in a space now where it's just like, almost like consequence is not thought about enough. So everything is so instant. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like that whole Busby,
this civil lawsuit that was dropped, dismissed.
That shit took a lot out of it. I was angry. I haven't been that angry in a long time. Uncontrollable anger. Like you don't put that on someone. Like that's the thing that you better be super sure. It used to be like that. Like you have to be super sure before you put those kind of things on a person. Especially a person like me. Like even when
it's the time.
Wait, Greer, before we get there, can we stop? Greer, can we stop before we get there? Well, I wanted to talk about a couple of the clips. I want to talk about the first clip that he talked about, because I think, I think that was a significant point, because he was talking about becoming a billionaire from a person with nothing, right? And so how he looks at wealth and how somebody that is a Nepo baby or a transfer of wealth from generational wealth is different, because he comes from nothing, and he's talking about from the sense of how he got to where he is. And he's the same person. Basically, he was saying he's the same person from Marcy that he is today. Now, of course, when you come into money, you elevate. But I thought that was interesting to hear him talk about being a billionaire. What are your thoughts, Jill?
So for me, I know people, call Jay-Z, and he addressed some of this, a capitalist, and they feel as though he's changed, he extorts people or whatever their thought process is. And some people don't understand why we are so excited when these other people become billionaires or their status. I think he touched on it, talking about the climb, knowing from where he's come from. That's aspirational to some, because somebody that was in those same streets that you were, or going through those same paces, made it up out. And this is the way that they did it. So oftentimes we don't get an up close look at the climb to greatness, to that type of financial freedom, we'll call it, that people aspire to. And he gave the blueprint, so to speak. And I feel like we are really hard on our own in every aspect. And so we will support you, support you, support you. But when you get to a certain point, it's like it clicks and it's like, you're not of us anymore. So I think it's an important conversation to have, because money does change the conversation for so many of us in so many different ways. And it impacts how we look at people. And even if we respect them to a certain degree, if they acquire too much.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And then he also talked about, his 2025 year, the accusations, and how he was really, really angry about the situation, because it wasn't just attacking him. He has young children. He said he had to talk to his wife and let her know what was happening. And the way he handled the situation, I think is worth a conversation about as well, because he didn't allow the system to define him. He pushed back, and he won. And he said that, there are consequences to your actions. So you're just not going to say nothing about me and think that I'm not going to respond because I'm afraid, because I didn't do nothing. That's what he said, and he fought back. And so one of the things he said was his 2025, he was on defense. This year it's offense. And so what were your takeaway? When we were on the show on Tuesday, when I was on your show, you said that he was the boogeyman to a lot of people. And I want you to touch on why you say that a lot of people define him as the boogeyman.
I feel like Jay-Z over these past couple of years is hip hop's boogeyman, because you've heard Nicki Minaj, Jay-Z and Live Nation, they're not good people, but she'll never elaborate on what they allegedly did. We've heard that, Jay-Z, he put Kendrick on the Super Bowl because he has a problem with Drake. Like, he is attributed to the downfall or the lack of motion in a lot of people's careers. And I think a lot of that has to do with Beyonce and their union. It just, it's two powerful figures in music coming together. And I'm not saying there haven't been any conversations or whatever, because I don't know the inner workings, but I feel as though, again, when we see people reach a certain level of success and the packaging looks too neat for us, then we start looking for cracks and we start looking for reasons why this individual is so great. Now, I don't believe in idol worship, so to speak, but I feel like you can give people their props and respect for what they have done without thinking that everything that they do is beyond reproach. And I think with Jay, calling someone a PDF and the type of accusations that he was accused of in that particular lawsuit, I think that would make anyone angry, because it's not just taking advantage of someone, it's taking advantage of a child. No one wants to have that type of reputation attached to them. So
especially when you have young children. And when we were talking about the boogeyman label, my response was that I think a lot of it has to do is because the Carters remain silent and they don't respond to 95% of the stuff that is said about them. They just, let it roll off their shoulders, or they don't respond. And I think that's why this conversation that he had, had the chatting, the social media, doing their thing. Forensics brought up first thought GQ is not black media, regardless of the interviewer. But that's like one of those things where he can't win for losing, because at least he made sure that the interviewer was black. But as black media, that's something that we could push up on Rock Nation for and ask them. And I think that that's our job as reporters, to go to Rock Nation and say, hey, are you talking? Is Jay-Z going to talk to any black outlets? You know, is he going to stand on business like he said in his interview? So I think that a lot of the times, if he doesn't make the choice, it might be our job to push Rock Nation to talk to black media outlets, or choose one, right? Maybe he really thought that he was doing something by choosing a black journalist to interview him for GQ. But what I'm seeing in the chat is they're saying that's not enough. He needs to talk to a black outlet. So maybe we need to push up on Rock Nation and say, knock, knock.
I mean, I feel that I would like to see, because every time he does decide to talk to us, and I understand you're Jay-Z, he does select certain media types. Now, this young man that interviewed him, I believe that they've had a prior relationship. They talked about in the interview him emailing Jay-Z, asking him questions about his lyrics and stuff. So I think he's talked to him before. They have a certain relationship, and the guy was really well knowledge as far as Jay-Z's music base, which I think is important, because sometimes you see these interviews and there's been a lot of talk about influencers or whomever interviewing people that don't know enough about the history or to connect certain things. So I did appreciate that this guy had a knowledge of Jay-Z's catalog and they could speak to some of those things.
It was a great interview. It was a great interview, you know, and you can't take that away from that journalist, whether he works for a black outlet or a white outlet. To your point, he knew the lyrics, he knew the nuances of the conversation, and he did a great job. Now, traditionally, Jay-Z, don't be surprised if he doesn't talk to Angie Martinez, but that's still a white-owned entity that she works for. iHeart is not black-owned, but Angie Martinez is one of his go-tos when he wants to talk. Another person that he would talk to is Torre, right? That's another one, as well as Elliott Wilson, who recently went under surgery. I actually saw him at the Earl's Grill block party on Saturday. Okay. And, you know, he looked like he was moving slow. So, you know, Elliott Wilson is another one, and he works for Complex, I believe it is. So there are go-to people that he goes to, and I don't think it's about the outlet, but it's about the connection and how well people know his vibe. So, I mean, I
would like to see him in conversation with someone new, though. I wouldn't mind.
This guy, I didn't know him. Did you know him?
I didn't know him either,
new.
but I guess, I mean, when I say that is new, but I guess, I mean, you know, just a different type of media. Again, I appreciated this conversation, but I would like to see him, just like I would love to see him talk to you or to talk to me. I just maybe not as precisely placed, because again, this gentleman was knowledgeable. It was a great conversation, but I would like to see a conversation that I feel isn't as cultivated. Is that the word I'm looking for? Curated, maybe. Yeah.
Well, nevertheless, the podcasters were talking about this interview. Everybody wants to know, is this a soft launch or is this a one-off? But take a look at what Carmelo Anthony had to say about what he thinks this concert is all about. We could look at the clip now, Greg.
Gotta be a build up to halftime show.
Gotta be.
Because you're not gonna, it's the timing of it is almost perfect as far as the time frame you need to build up to the Super Bowl announcement. I would love to have Jay there. Kendrick did it. Usher did it. Bad Bunny did it.
Yeah.
Like, so you only could go up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Once you start announcing, I'm gonna be doing this many shows.
You set the bar.
Yes.
Yeah. You set the bar. So now it's perfect timing. This is 30th year, anniversary of the album. Why wouldn't I do the Super Bowl.
Right.
You niggas is bugging. Like, it got to be a build up to.
So, I mean, I'm thinking that we were talking about this too. Like, is this the soft launch or is this a one-off? So chat, let us know, or I don't even know if y'all care. But I do. I want to know, is this the soft launch? Or, should you get these tickets to the Roots picnic and these 3 concerts? Because this is it. What do you think, Jill?
I had never even considered that he might be building up for the Super Bowl. I've been to see Jay-Z a couple of times. I love Jay in concert. It's a great show. I'm very sad that I can't go see him in Yankee Stadium. I would have loved to go see that. I would be interested in seeing him perform at the Super Bowl, but I feel like not yet. That I don't think he's going to do it yet for some reason. But I would love it. The Super Bowl's in LA next year. I would love to see him perform halftime at SoFi.
Oh my God, that'd be bananas. Okay, so some people are saying that this could be a play up to Act 3, right? On the Run, we had 1 and 2. So you have On the Run 3, Act 3. That's a theory that I'm seeing. And so it's just like, he's back in the game. And, we're excited. This is when I feel like we're living in our black bubble and everything is going on, but we got a whole lot of stuff popping that's bringing us joy. And so, the story of Jay-Z to be continued. So now let's jump into another cultural moment for the week. And that was Versus, Tank versus Tyrese. I love the setup, 2 live bands. Both had backup singers, and we wasn't going record for record. We were going vocal for vocal in a live setting with live music. We saw Jamie Foxx pop up. We saw what's your boy that has all the allegation problems? The girl, the one that performed
Trey
with
Songz?
Trey Songz. Yeah, I mean, when he got on stage, the chat cut him up. Okay, cut him up. And so it was a night for the culture. I thought that it was great. But who do you think won, Chad? Do you think Tyrese won or do you think Tank won? And Jill, I'll give the first one to you.
So I'm gonna say Tank because I think that Tank has better stage presence. I know he bought out a lot of people, but he's written a lot of stuff. Tyrese doesn't practice. He says that, he admits to that. But overall, I thought it was a very entertaining show. Those two have great chemistry with each other. The comedy was an unintended benefit that most people probably weren't expecting. Lots of pop-up surprises, but I'm a roll with Tank as the winner.
You're roll with Tank. And it looks like they have another album coming out. Him with TG3 with Genuine.
Yep.
So who didn't make it because of the travel chaos, but hopefully that'll be fixed now that TSA is funded. But it was a great night for culture. I know afterwards D-Nice popped on with the R&B set. So it took us back to COVID, because during COVID you had Versus and then you had D-Nice and then you had Tory Lanez for the young folks. I mean, COVID was a wild time, but it brought so many cultural opportunities to the table.
I agree. And listen, it was a good time. People were happy.
Right. Okay, so one more story. The Queen of Funk, Chaka Khan, is making headlines this morning for comments she made about the current state of music. Now, in a new interview, Chaka said that many of today's female artists are relying more on their butts than their actual vocals to sell records. Now, she argued that back in the day, it was only about the voice, but now she feels the industry prioritizes sex appeal over technical skills. And she said this on the Table Manor podcast. Quickly, what are your thoughts?
She's not wrong. I love Miss Chaka. I'm never going to say anything bad about her. I grew up with her daughter. We went to school together. So imagine having Chaka Khan as your friend's mom growing up. It was a whole vibe. It's a different type of thing. She's honest, she's raw, and she's a legend. So, yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think she has a great point. I want to know what the youngins are going to have to say about this. So maybe we'll have to pick that one up next Friday after it circulates and we get some feedback from that. But before we go, let's get into our Black Facts. Today, as we close out Women's Month, we have two dynamic women in the culture and in music to celebrate. On this day, March 27th, 1948, Billie Holiday made her first appearance as a headliner at the New York City's renowned Carnegie Hall to a sold-out audience. So maybe you want to go watch Lady Sings the Blues this weekend. And then, of course, MC. Today, the year of 1970, a queen was born. The iconic singer and songwriter Mariah Carey was born in Long Island, New York. And she has become one of the best-selling musical acts of all time. And of course, she is the queen of Christmas, okay? You can't have Christmas now without Mariah Carey. So today we want to celebrate Billie Holiday and the birthday of Mariah Carey. So we know what the soundtracks are. We know what movies to watch. Jill, we can check you out when and where?
Monday through Thursday, 6 to 7 p.m. KBLA Talk 1580. Also KBLA Talk 1580 on YouTube. I'm at Stiletto Jill everywhere. I'll let your girl say hi. Thank you for having me.
All right. Jill will be back next Friday. We'll be back next Monday. Have a great weekend. And for the latest in Black news, and you want to know what's happening in the world of Black culture and content, head over to BlackPress USA. So in between time, you can find us there. And we'll talk to you on Monday.